Metalheads, and welcome to episode 38 of the Harsh Vocals Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Corbett, and with me is my good friend, Christian Renner. How are you today, man?
Wie geht's? Ganz gut. That would be, how's it going? Really good. There we go. There you go. Bilingual now. Bilingual.
Nice. Add a little German to the podcast. Well, it's been another pretty good 2 weeks. There's been some really strong albums and then a whole lot of okay to better albums.
Yeah.
But we've got a lot to talk about today for sure. So the topic for this particular episode is one that Christian came up with, and the topic's going to be the albums that made us love music. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But before we dive into that, of course, we're going to talk about our favorite releases from the past 2 weeks. So let's jump right in. Christian, what was your first pick?
My first pick was a band called Indemon. The album is called Reclaiming Chaos. We have death/thrash metal from Finland. They didn't give a city. This is the debut on Inverse Records. The track that I picked is a song called Abuse, and this track simply showcases the album's great riffs and how it changes throughout. And this here is just a perfect blend of death and thrash. And with these bands, usually one will overpower another, but not here. And oddly enough, not on my next pick either. But I swear it's nowhere near as common as you would think. Usually it's always, there's more thrash than death or vice versa. But
yeah,
it's usually never 50-50. And my first two picks are almost perfect 50-50 mixes. And along with that, you have these moments of groove that just remind you of the early days of Corrosion of Conformity. You'll get that in their groove sections. They sound so much like COC. It's not funny.
But you know what? I mean, I don't know if you have this in your notes or not, but my honorable mention on the last episode, we talked about the band Death Goat, which put out that old school death metal album. And I absolutely love that. I've gone back to it several more times this past cycle. The bass player from that band is actually the bass player for this band as well. So
really?
It kind of makes the groove elements make a lot of sense.
Okay. That does make more sense. And all of that just adds an extra dimension to the overall sound. It's just not straight one thing, so you do have some variety in here. I also have to highlight the guitar work on this album. His name and the guitarist is courtesy of Santeri Lismala, and he's just got some amazing solos on this album to go along with some just fucking filthy riffs. And just another super strong debut album that we seem to run into all the time, and... anymore, what can you say? It's becoming the thing. So
yeah, well, I mean, there's just, like we always say, there's so much more access for bands to create albums now. And so every single episode we discover new debuts that are just incredible, like this one. I actually really like this album a lot too. The death metal elements, while they are, like you said, 50-50 with the thrash, they're incredibly well done. And the groove elements, that's what drew me in and hooked me. I probably listened to this album 10 times. And I totally knew it was going to be a pick for you after the first listen. It's right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, it was. If this wasn't going to be a pick, it would have had to be pushed out by something. Yeah, pretty amazing. And I mean, honestly, just a foreshadowing here. I did not pick Sodom as one of my albums, which honestly, the only reason that I didn't was people know who Sodom is. I don't need to bring Sodom to you. They absolutely should be a pick on this. But Indemon probably needs just a little bit more help than Sodom does. And, you probably already knew or probably already heard Sodom. So if you're listening to this. So.
I listened to the Sodom album, and I felt like it was kind of samey throughout. Like, it was okay. It was good. It just wasn't, doing anything really original compared to, what I've heard from all these other bands. It was just more of the same, kind of what you expect from them. So it didn't really stand out to me. And I've seen a lot of other people online saying similar things. So I don't know. I'm not sure it would have been a pick, even if you had spent more time with it.
I really like the album. I think it's a little long. I think it's 13 tracks. It does get a little long to get what you're talking about, the samey aspects in it. But there's just certain songs on there that are just thrash metal perfection. And it's exactly what they do. And even a subpar Sodom album is a lot better than other bands' top tier shit. Would I say it's their best? Certainly not.
Yeah.
It is certainly not anywhere near their best albums, but I can't say anywhere near, but
it's kind of middle of the pack.
It would struggle. Yeah, it would be middle of the pack. So not their worst, not their best, solid middle, and a solid album that easily could have been a pick for me, but like I said, Sodom doesn't need my help.
That's very true. All right, let's go and play the track from Indemon. Again, this is off their album Reclaiming Chaos, and the name of the song is Abuse. That's a great track, man.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, the whole album is really good, but it's one of those quick in and out. I think there's quite a few of the albums that we have here. Like my next pick too is it's not changing the world, but it's just a solid album, solid release. But you know, not everything needs to change the world. Sometimes you just want a good record. So
yeah, I think this one's only like 46 minutes or 48 minutes or something, but it doesn't even feel like that. It goes by really quickly.
Yeah.
All right, well, moving on. My first pick of the episode is from the band Lord Belial. They put out an album called Unholy Trinity. This is kind of that classic second wave style satanic black metal. They're from Sweden, and this is actually their 10th full-length album since 1992. I'm pretty sure that I've heard them before, but I don't have like a strong recollection of it. Are you familiar with them prior to this album, Christian?
I thought I was. This band has been around for a very long time. They have a lot of fucking releases. Lord Belial, that name alone kind of sounds familiar because I've seen a lot of Belial bands. You know
Right.
what I mean? There was Grand Belial's Key. There was that black metal band from the 1990s and stuff.
There's even one last
early
week
2000s.
called Wrath of Belial. I mean, there's
Yeah, so
it's pretty
I
common.
mean, it could, and I think that's where I thought I had heard them before, and I don't think I have, which is kind of surprising considering they have what, like 12 albums or some shit.
Yeah, this is actually
they have
their
a
10th.
lot.
Their 10th full
Or
length.
10th, yeah, and I don't think I may have heard it, but not remembered it. So
Yeah, I think I'm in the same
that
boat.
could very well be.
Because like I've gone back and listened to a couple of their previous albums, and they do sound familiar to me, but I don't have a strong recollection of it. This one, however, is just absolutely fantastic. Like I said, these guys have been around since 1992. They split up and reformed several times throughout that time range, mostly because one of their members has really bad tinnitus, and it got so bad that they couldn't perform. And then it took some time off. It got better. They got back together, etc. They'd done that a few times. But this is like really in the same vein as like Sacramentum. If you're a fan of Sacramentum, it is really exceptional, straightforward second wave black metal. Just polished. The production isn't raw or thin. It isn't hyper produced either, though. It doesn't feel like a Dimmu album or anything like that. It feels like just right, honestly, in my opinion. And I couldn't get enough of this one. I probably listened to this 15, 16 times. I know, Christian, you said you already bought it on vinyl.
Yeah, I listened to this so much. This here, I can't say it was the most listened to. And I mean, honestly, that would probably go to Skjoldjen, but that's because we've had it for a while. But this album, Jesus Christ, I love everything about this album. The production is fucking perfect. Just perfect production. It's got an epic closing track that actually feels epic. It's big, it's bombastic. It has, just everything you want from one of those type of tracks. And usually I hate those kind of tracks. Adding moments of thrash and death metal into this also just adds even more variety. And I guess to top it all off, man, the album art's fucking phenomenal. It's just perfect album art for this style of music. Yeah, so I actually ordered the vinyl last night, because I just got done listening to the album again, and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to buy the vinyl. And I've already bought vinyl from stuff from this week already, and it's, God damn it. I need to slow down at least somewhat. Damn.
You're going to run out of space.
But here I am.
No, I haven't bought the vinyl yet, but I should. It's been such a crazy, chaotic couple of weeks. I haven't really even been paying that much attention to releases and whatnot, so I wasn't even aware there was vinyl, but it makes sense that there is, and I should probably buy a copy too, because I really dig this. Yeah, actually, I don't normally put for fans of on my reviews and everything, but for this one, I put for fans of Sacramentum, Naglfar, and Mystic Circle. And I feel like that's a really good mixture that you get with this, especially Mystic Circle. Like, I hear so much Mystic Circle in this, and as much as I didn't love their latest album, this kind of scratched that itch for me, what I was looking for in that kind of sound. So this
sounds a lot like the very first Mystic Circle album.
It does. Yeah, it's really, really good. So if you like that classic black metal sound, I think you're going to appreciate this for sure. Anyways, let's go ahead and play the track. Again, this is Lord Belial off of their new album, Unholy Trinity. And the track that I chose to play is called Serpent's Feast.
Serpent of old, the dark accuser.
Man, such a great fucking album. It's one of the best of this week.
Yeah, I completely agree.
If it wouldn't have been a pick for you, it would have been a pick for me.
It was really hard to pick which track to play for this one too, because while they are underneath that classic black metal sound, there's so much variety in the tracks that picking one to illustrate exactly what they sound like is kind of tough. I liked this one because it started out with that peaceful kind of melody and then explodes. And for me, that always seems to work pretty well. So hopefully other people enjoy it as much as I do. All right. Well, moving on to your next pick. This is Inhuman Condition.
Alrighty. We have Inhuman Condition. The album is called Mind Trap. We have, again, death mixed with thrash. Again, Florida. They don't give a city, but Florida is Florida. This is their third full length from Listenable Insanity Records. The track that I picked is Mind Tool Weapon. And I mean, honestly, it's just my favorite song on the album, so that's the only reason I picked it. And I would say these are probably the hardest working guys in heavy metal. And I only say that because there's roughly 800 other bands that these guys are part of, and they can fully attest to this fact. Just go onto their Encyclopedia Metallum page and take a look at the lineup. All the bands that these guys are in. And I mean, to really illustrate that point, I saw them a couple of years ago here in Des Moines. They were not the headliner, but right below the headliner. I can't even remember who the headliner was, but I remember going to their merch table and I was buying T-shirts and stuff, and I saw this box that had all this vinyl on there, and I'm like, what the fuck? And there's like 40 or 50 vinyl albums in there, and I'm like, are they selling are they a record store too? Like, are they just hustling on the side too? No, all that vinyl were from other bands that they were in.
Yeah,
so
I know, like one of them's in
Deicide,
one of them's an Obituary. They were all former members of Massacre. Like, they have a lot of pedigree in that band. They're almost kind of a super group if you look at all the major death metal bands they've been a part of. Yeah,
it really is ridiculous. I don't know, how they write music and they decide, all right, this is for this band or this is for that band. I mean, I would like to know. This would be a good interview if we could get them. But to keep going, like Indemon, this is almost a perfect mixture of that death and thrash. This is what I was talking about. It's almost directly 50-50, and a lot of that is the vocals are very death metal-y, while the riffs are very death metal, but definitely there's tons of thrash metal riffs in there too, and thrash metal breakdowns, and everything that you would want. Songs like Chaos Engine has this fantastic mid-paced thrash groove with this heavy death metal aggression just built onto the top of it. And it just works so incredibly well. Yeah. And this is 100% for fans of that 90s era death metal that miss that sound, but also want a bit of modern touch. Again, quick in and out. This isn't changing the world. This is just a solid death thrash album. Is it going to be super high up on my end of year list? Probably not. But it would be an easy album just to throw on and fully enjoy.
Yeah, I like this one a lot too. Not as much as you, I don't think, because while I do feel like it is close to 50-50, there's a lot more of a thrash feel to it than the Indemon album had. And some of those thrashier elements just got a little bit tedious for me. But I still liked it. I mean, I would rate it like an 8 out of 10. Like, it's a very good album. And again, a minute I heard it, I knew it was going to be a pick for you. So yeah. It's a good album.
Yeah, just a great band all the way across.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and play the track. Again, this is Inhuman Condition off of their album Mind Trap. And the track that Christian picked is Mind Tool Weapon, which I love that title. Yeah. It's a great song, too. Hope you guys enjoy it. Oh yeah, the riff in that one is just sick, man.
Yeah, it just works so fucking well, especially if you're a fan of thrash. I mean, hey.
Yeah, I mean, as I've said before, my taste with thrash is very particular. So, all right, well, let's move on. I think we can both agree on this next one. The band Cryptopsy, they released a new album called An Insatiable Violence. This is brutal / technical death metal from Canada, their 9th full-length album since 1993, and arguably the most aggressive album we've gotten so far this year from anybody. This thing is just packed from beginning to end with aggression. There's little moments that let you breathe, but not many of them. There's little bits of melody which just accentuate everything, but in general, it's just balls to the wall from beginning to end. Primarily, it's just a straightforward tech death album, and it is masterful. I really couldn't get enough of this. I probably heard this 35, 40 times now. I bought it on vinyl shortly after hearing it the first time. I knew it was going to be a pick for me pretty much right away because I love that hyper aggression in death metal. And yeah, it's a masterclass in that. What did you think of this one, Christian?
Well, in my notes, I just have written here, "You want aggression?" ? Cryptopsy says, "Hold my fucking beer." This is aggressive as fuck. These guys are like, they're walking into the venue, they're punching you in the face, and then they're leaving. And telling you damn well better fucking like it. And if you don't, we don't care. Yeah, this is aggression all the way. This really feels like a return to what I like best about them, which is their early career. Mm-hmm. This is like straight back to that sound. Not 100%. I think there's
a lot more of it in there than their newer stuff, yeah.
But, the technicality is still super, super evident along with that the only thing you really need to say is just aggression. This is aggression in musical form. It doesn't get more aggressive than this.
I mean, with that title, An Insatiable Violence, what else could you expect?
Yeah, you just couldn't anything else.
Yeah, this was another one that picking a track to play was actually really hard for because the whole album is just bangers from beginning to end. Although there are those moments that are quieter or have melody, and I wanted to pick a track that kind of highlighted that so that people that weren't used to them could see that there is like more to them than just balls to the wallness. So I picked a track kind of towards the end of the album called Our Great Deception, which does have a little bit of that melody in it that kind of lets it breathe. So I hope you guys like this. If this is your first exposure to Cryptopsy and you like it, I highly recommend checking out their first 2 albums. If you don't, maybe the middle ones will be for you. Who knows? But they're a great band regardless, and definitely check them out if you haven't. fuck, that's aggressive.
Yeah, the first time through, like, I remember listening to it, and like track 3, track 4 goes by, and you almost feel like, whew, like you have to take a deep breath. Like, Jesus Christ, did these guys ever slow down? Apparently not. And then it just keeps going. Then the album's over, and you're just like, you almost feel sweaty. Like,
yeah, but they don't.
I shouldn't be getting sweaty listening to a record.
They've been around for so long that they know how to edit themselves too. Like, none of the songs overstay their welcome. The album doesn't overstay its welcome. It's not like it has too many tracks or something. We're going to talk about Shadow Intent's latest album as one of my honorable mentions. Like, that album's extremely aggressive too, and mostly a very good album. But you feel exhausted by the time you're done listening to it because there is too many tracks. This, it ends in just the right spot. It's just the right amount to where it finishes, and then you're like, I could go for another round, and then you start it over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Aggression is great as long as it's not aggression filled with exhaustion. Like, you don't want that either. So,
yeah. All right. Well, moving on. The next pick is one of yours, and I think we both agree that this is fantastic as well.
And this is Skjolden.
Yeah, we had Carl on the show a few months ago talking about this coming out. If you haven't had a chance to hear that interview, I'd recommend going back and listening to it, because he had some really great insight into what it's like to have a long-term music career and then finally be doing his own solo thing. And this album is one of my favorite atmospheric black metal albums to come out this year. So it's great.
Mine as well. The album is insouciant metaphysical grandeur. We have a mellow black mixed with a little bit of death metal from Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's his debut album, but he's in a lot of bands. So this is completely done on his own. The track that I picked is Keeper of the Silent Heart. This here is one of the shorter songs on the album, but it's straight to the point. And if you like this, you're going to enjoy the whole album, because this here is a perfect example in a very small, kind of short song. I think it's only like 3.5 minutes long, but it does exactly what the other songs do in a longer time frame. This is an album that we discussed with Carl in his interview, and listeners and fans of this and his other bands, In Exorum, Antiverse, and Majesties, are finally able to give it a listen. And I think I can safely say, it's worth the wait. If you're a fan of any of his other work, you're gonna love this.
It's super impressive because all of his bands sound very different from each other, but at their core, you can kind of tell that there's some sort of
similarity.
Yeah, there's some sort of similarity. And it's really him. He's the driving force behind all the guitar work on these albums. And there's just so much that just emanates his own musical aura, I guess, in these albums. I don't really know what else to call it, but you can hear Majesties and hear Carl Skilden's music. You can hear An Exorum and tell that it's him. And you can hear Skjolden, and it's just more of the same, but through a completely different lens. And it's just impressive. I mean, he's super talented, not only as a writer, but also as a performer. And he writes very beautiful, atmospheric, melodic music, regardless of what genre he's trying to fit it into. I'm super impressed with this. I mean, I knew I was going to like it because I like all of his other stuff, but I didn't expect I was going to like it quite as much as I do. This is one of those that's going to kind of upset my rankings.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, I hate to call it this, but I think this album is also a grower. But if you even remotely like this on the first listen, give it more time, and then it fully unlocks, and it won't take long. It just has this raw energy from that old school Scandinavian black metal mixed with this more modern sensibility that he's got. And Carl is simply, let's just say it, he's just stupid talented. I mean, what else can you really say here? I've yet to run across anything he's done that I haven't liked. And this here's just another one.
The only negative I have is that it's not available in vinyl.
That's all
Hopefully
I got.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and play the track. Again, this is Skjolden off of his latest album, Insouciant Metaphysical Grandeur. And the track that Christian picked is Keeper of the Silent Heart.
tell me that's not great.
Yeah,
And I will call you a liar.
It is great. All right. Well, moving on to the final pick for the episode, and this is one that Christian maybe didn't love quite as much as I did, but I was completely enamored with. Helheim put out an album called Hrabnar/Advesa. It's actually a split album, but it's really kind of interesting because it's a split within the band. So they had their guitarist, who goes by Hgrimnir, write the first half of the album, and then they had their bassist, who goes by Vigander, write the second half of the album. So this is Viking/black metal from Norway. It's their 12th full-length album since 1992. I know I have heard these guys before, but I was never as impressed with them as I am with this album. This album completely blew me away, and it's one that I've listened to 60 to 70 times since I first heard it. I've pre-ordered the vinyl. I'm waiting for it to arrive. It should be next week, but I can't wait to get it and listen to it on vinyl. So the first half of the album, it's 8 tracks total. The first 4 songs are very explorative, kind of atmospheric in places. It feels a little bit like Enslaved in the first half, very cinematic sort of sounding. And the second half is a lot more rockin', I guess. Like it's almost like you took that Enslaved kind of feeling and then mixed it with something like Spectral Wound, because it has that very like forward thinking, like rock and roll overlay on top of the progressive black metal and Viking metal elements. It's really kind of an interesting dichotomy, because even though both halves of the album were written by different people, they have 20 plus years of experience working together, writing music together. It blends so seamlessly that unless you were aware, you probably wouldn't even realize that it's 2 different halves of a same album. So I highly recommend that if you like the track that I'm going to play, you check out the full album, because even though parts of it will sound similar, there's so much more to explore and appreciate here than what you're going to hear just in this song. What did you think of this album, Christian?
I obviously didn't like it as much as you did, but I think there's a great mix of aggression with tons of depth. This is deceptively complex. It's like, it doesn't seem like it's as complex as it really is. And then if you really sit down and think about what they're doing, it's right up there. And I got to ask you this, the song, Sarg Er Dodin's Spade. You know that song?
That's actually the track we're going to play. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I heard a lot of 80s era Cure in that.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So it's not just me. It's not just me.
No, it's not just you. This is a very eclectic album. Like there's a lot of like
why am I hearing
goth rock in places.
The goth era of Cure.
I think my favorite track is Filgja, but I mean, there's not a bad track on the album. And the only thing I could say negative is that the production is just a little bit thin, like the tiniest amount. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like this one needs to just come up just a little bit and it'd be perfect. But it's the smallest nitpick. And overall, I absolutely love this. I'm going to be shocked if this is not in my top 15 for the year. As much as I've been listening to it, it's so good for me, at least. So anyways, let's go ahead and play the track. Again, if you like this, please check out the full album, because there's a lot of variety beyond this. But this is the band Helheim, Helheim. The name of the album is Hrabnar/Advesa. And the track that I'm picking is Sorg Er Dodin's Spade. So hope you guys enjoy it. Ah, so good, man. It's so
I seriously, I seriously thought, it's like, am I seriously hearing The Cure right now? Like,
well, it's really weird because like
play it again.
I've been raving about this album for the whole 2 weeks, and like nobody else is echoing my sentiment. So maybe this is just one of those albums that I'm destined to love and nobody else is going to hear. I don't know, but I haven't seen a single other person talking about it. I feel like if people give it a chance, this could end up in a lot of indie review lists as well, because it is just so good in my opinion. But hopefully our listeners will check it out, and maybe I'll see. I mean,
I dig it. I just didn't. It didn't grab me the way it grabbed you. But yeah, it's really good.
Well, music is subjective, as we always say.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, that does it for our picks. Let's burn through our honorable mentions real quick. I'll let you go first, Christian.
All right. We'll start out with a band that kind of surprised the fuck out of me, and so much so that, man, I've probably listened to this album 20 times, even though it's going to be an honorable mention. And I told our friend Mike Lawrence about it, and he's become addicted to it, and I think he's ordering the vinyl as well. But it's the band Helms Deep and their album Chasing the Dragon. This is just straight up old school heavy metal, like early 80s. Just put it this way, for fans of, I just put Paul Di'Anno era Iron Maiden. And if you like Paul Di'Anno, as a matter of fact, I think one of the band members used to be in Di'Anno's band. So I think I saw that. But they're from Florida. This is their second album from Nameless Grave Records, and I'm just becoming addicted to this album. I don't know what it is. It just draws you in. From there, we have, I mentioned this earlier, but Sodom the Arsonist, thrash metal from Germany. For fans of, you know who the hell Sodom is. I don't have to tell you. Then we have Rot Gut, and this here is actually an EP, and we don't normally highlight EPs, but this was too good not to highlight. But this EP is called 24 Ounce Cantrip. We have speed metal with a little bit of crossover. They're from Renton, Washington in the U.S. They are unsigned. If you like Power Trip, Toxic Holocaust, DRI, Iron Reagan, any of those bands, you're going to love this Rot Gut album. Then we have Dragoria, Eternal Sleep. We have death/thrash metal, way more on the thrash side than death. They're from Greeley, Colorado, or is it Greeley, Colorado? They're unsigned, although they do have 2 full lengths and 4 EPs now. This here's their 4th EP. If you like Warbringer, Exodus, and of course Havoc coming from Colorado, then yeah, you're gonna love Dragoria. Then I came across this, Nicholas Sonne. I didn't know anything about this guy, but apparently he's in a lot of big name bands. His album Electric Dreams, this is heavy/power metal from Copenhagen, Denmark. It is his second album on Frontiers Records, and for fans of basically any of the Frontiers music bands on that label, if you like any of the other bands on that label, you're going to like this. They're a very kind of one size fits all kind of label. They all have kind of, but if you don't know any of that, if you like bands like Pyramase, Symphony X, or the Russell Allen, Annette Olson side project that they're doing together, if you like any of those, you're going to like this. Then a band called Leverage, their album Gravity, again, heavy/power metal from Helsinki, Finland. This is their 6th album. They're also on Frontiers Records. And again, if you like any of the bands on there, you're going to like that. So Sonata Arctica, Freedom Call, Stradivarius is what these guys are most similar to. Then we have Linax Infection. We have black metal from Nashville, Tennessee. I was kind of wondering if Splatterpunk knows these guys. It's a debut album. The guy's unsigned. If you like Watain, Dark Funeral, and of course Immortal, you're definitely going to find stuff to like here.
Yeah, I liked most of that album too.
Yeah, it was really good. I was surprised. And then finally, we have Herzoga. Evil Waits for Its Messiah. We have thrash metal from Krakow, Poland. This is their debut album on Virulent Records. If you like Sodom, Old Sepultura, the thrashier parts of Vader, yeah, you're going to like this too. They're really good. I thought the album was just slightly uneven, but yeah, there's still a lot to like there. And
Nice.
that's all I got.
All right. Well, moving on to mine. First up is a band called Black Path. They put out an album called Of Paint and Ash. This is death metal from Greece, their second full-length album since 2009. Really solid riffs. This feels like a Greek black metal album done in death metal styles. I liked a lot about this. It wasn't perfect. It could have done with some editing, but these guys have a lot of potential, and I'm looking forward to their next album to see what they can do to improve. Next was the band Ready for Death, which, if Christian was going to pick 3 thrash metal albums, I'm kind of surprised this one didn't become a pick for him as well. But the album is called Pay With Your Face, which, again, great title. Death/thrash from Chicago, their second full length since 2022. This is really aggressive thrash/death mixture, more in the death vein than the thrash vein, I think, which is probably why I liked it a little bit more. But it's very aggressive and a lot of fun. So if you're looking for more of that stuff, can't go wrong with these guys. Next is Shadow of Intent. They put out an album called Imperium Delirium, symphonic death metal/deathcore from Connecticut and Rhode Island, their 5th full-length album since 2013, and arguably their best album to date. I really liked this. I do feel like it's a little bit too long. It gets exhausting about 3/4 of the way through because there is some sameness, but there are also some absolutely brilliant moments in this album. Some of the guitar work is just mind-blowingly good. I swear, if these guys could learn to edit themselves, they would be like one of the best bands coming out of the US, but they just always go a little too long, I think. So mostly it's great, though.
Same issue I had with it. I thought it was 3 tracks too long.
Yeah.
You take 3 tracks out of that, and you have a phenomenal album and an easy pick.
Yeah, agreed. Similar sort of problem with this next band, Heaven Shall Burn. They put out an album called Heimat. Melodic death metal with a little bit of metalcore from Germany, their 10th full length. And this is the first one I've heard from them where they really leaned heavily into just the death metal side of it. There was not a lot of metalcore for the first 3/4 of the album. And then they have a song where Killswitch Engage guests, and from that point it was just downhill. It became a lot of soft, clean vocals and just boring, basic metalcore stuff. But the first 3/4 of this album are fantastic. I mean, when I was listening to it, I was absolutely impressed by it, and I was starting to talk about it online, and then I got to that point, and I was just like, ooh, what happened? Why'd you make that choice? Yep. So 3/4 an album, fantastic.
Yep.
Next is the band Creeping Fear. They put out an album called Realm of the Impaled. This is death metal from France, their 3rd full-length album since 2017. This is a really unassuming death metal album. The first time you hear it, you might not get a whole lot out of it, but if you keep going back to it, it just keeps getting better and better with repeated listens. This is for fans of Immolation or Benighted. It's kind of a good mixture of those two. There's the tiniest little bit of progressive elements. Production value is top tier. I think if I had spent more time with this could have been a pick for me. It was certainly very close to being, and it's definitely an album that I'll spend more time with as the year rolls on. So highly endorse this one. Did you listen to this one, Christian? What did you think?
I liked it a lot too. And yeah, I definitely hear a lot of the Immolation in there. I dug it. I definitely dug it.
Yeah, it's a good one. Next is the band Sombreterre, Sombreterre. They put out an album called The Cycle of the Living Forest. This is atmospheric post-black from Portugal. These guys don't have a Metallum page, so I don't have a ton of information about them. And the closest comparison I could make for these guys is that they kind of seem like a mixture of Unrequited and Sunver and Harakiri. They have a lot of those elements, but they're stretched out kind of far because of the cleans. I'll say right up front that I was not the biggest fan of the cleans in this. They're a lot more pretty than I like them to be for this type of music, but for some people that may not bother you. However, the harsh black metal vocals were exactly what I love. And musically, sonically, this was fantastic. It's just the cleans didn't really quite work for me, and that's why it ended up as an honorable mention. But for other people, if you like those bands I just mentioned, you'll probably love this. So it was worth an honorable mention at least. So check it out if you like that stuff. And then I have 2 EPs as well, which I don't normally do, but they're so good I had to talk about them. Valdron released an EP called Apex Violator. They're melodic black metal from Ohio. This is their first EP after they've already released 4 full-length albums. And my God, I wish this was just 2 songs longer so it could be a full album, because it is arguably one of the best EPs I've ever heard. 5 just absolutely incredible melodic black metal tracks, everything I've heard from Valdrin, I've absolutely loved. They're one of my favorite US black metal bands. I can't wait for the next full length, but this will tide me over. Unfortunately, the vinyl sold out like everywhere. And this is just right on the cusp of being an album length. It's 29 minutes too. So I would absolutely listen to it on vinyl if I could get a copy, but you can't find them. So that kind of sucks.
Well, and they were actually already sold out before this album even dropped.
Yeah, they're very popular.
They were already gone.
Yeah, they're very popular in the melodic black metal realm. And then finally, my last honorable mention is Upon Stone. I absolutely loved Dead Mother Moon that came out last year. It was one of my favorite melodic death metal albums of 2024. They put out a 3-track EP called End Time Lightning. And holy shit, like these 3 songs, well, 2 songs are original, 1 song's a cover, but the 2 songs that are new and original are so much more aggressive and so much more polished than anything I've heard from them so far. If this is what we have to look forward to on their next album, I absolutely can't wait. Like I'm frothing at the mouth to hear what's going to come from Upon Stone, because holy shit, these are 2 insanely good tracks. So if you hear these and you like this, go check out Dead Mother Moon, because it's a great melodeath album anyways, but I am waiting on pins and needles for the next album.
Yeah. I'm right there with you on that one.
All right, well, that does it for honorable mentions. Let's go ahead and move into our topic. So the topic, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, is that we're going to talk about 5 albums that made us love music. So Christian, why don't you tell them what was the impetus for this topic, and then I'll let you talk about yours first.
All right. The impetus for this was, I was thinking about how I wonder if people have this idea that, like back in the day, you used to live with an album for weeks and months and multiple months. And the way we do, we have a new playlist that we create every single Friday with all the new releases, and we go through all that. And we each listen multiple times to a lot of these, what we consider our finalists, but we don't live with these albums per se. But I think it might seem that way, but we actually do, because a lot of these we will buy on vinyl that we like above and beyond everything else. And we do play those throughout the year. So it's not like we're only listening to new stuff constantly. I do have to break it up, just podcast listening, all the new releases, because sometimes if you get into a stretch of 5 or 6 bad albums in a row and you're just kind of like, oh, fuck, I need to listen to something good. So you go back to something you know is good, and it kind of recharges the batteries. So
but when you're talking about living with them, like when you and I were growing up, I mean, I know we grew up in different eras, but even in my era, you didn't have Spotify. You didn't have access to 150 new albums every week. But you might go and buy a couple of new albums every week at the CD or record store, and then once you had those in your collection, you would just listen to them as often as possible. And so like a lot of the albums we're going to talk about today are albums that we listened to ad nauseum, because they were a part of a small collection that we had, not really the same as it is today. I mean, yes, like we'll hear an album in January that we absolutely love and we'll listen to it all throughout the year and even beyond, but we don't devote nearly as much time to it because there is 120 new albums coming out every week that we have to listen to. And other new albums that we love just as much. So no matter how much time we dedicate to it, because we do dedicate a lot, it's impossible to treat an album the same way we did in the 80s or 90s or even earlier than that. Yeah,
and to add on to that, something else that I thought about is how musicians grow as they get older. Usually they get better as they go along. And honestly, I think you grow as a listener as well. You pick up more things, and that was probably the biggest impetus for this, was the growth that you start to develop as a listener. And I think there's a difference between people that listen to music and people that hear music. I think people that just listen, it's background noise, it's whatever. And people that truly hear music, it's something deeper. It's like you can hear a guitar talking to you, it almost like that guitar solo has lyrics to it, and you can just feel it. And, we had a whole episode about that feeling that you get called frizzen from, when something really touches you, and that just blows you away. So I was thinking about there's one song that got me over and I mean, I was a fan of music way before this. I mean, like with my own money, one of the first albums I bought was Back in Black, AC/DC. Another one is Blackout from the Scorpions. Another one is Aldanova, Fantasy. So I was a fan of rock and metal in the early 80s and stuff. But it wasn't until it was probably 1986 or 1987. A friend of mine told me to listen to Sultans of Swing from Dire Straits on the Alchemy Live album. And I don't know what it was about that moment of hearing it, but something just switched. And all of a sudden, the guitar parts in there are just so fucking good. And it's almost like I just heard it for the first time. And after that, I went back and I listened to some other stuff that I had liked before. And all of a sudden, I had a deeper appreciation for all of this. And throughout time, like I said, this is a growth kind of process. Other genres of music have opened up for me. Other genres of metal have opened up for me. And it's usually something that triggers it. And so these are the albums that I would say triggered stuff that helped me grow as a listener. And of course, my first one is Sultans of Swing, the Alchemy Live. That's the one where it completely unlocked. I don't even know how to describe it, but it unlocked music in a completely new way. And all of a sudden, it wasn't, I liked music. I was infatuated with music. I couldn't get enough. I just constantly wanted to listen to music. All of a sudden, TV wasn't really as important as it used to be or whatever. Movies weren't all that important, but man, I'd be going to midnight releases for albums, and it became a thing. I just hung out with friends that were just all about music. All we did was talk about music, and it just kept going from there. Another album that really, really shook me to like, oh my God, again, not metal, but it's the Pink Floyd album, 1994, Pulse Live, and especially Comfortably Numb on that recording. Holy fuck. If you don't feel something listening to that, I think you might be dead. So it's just one of those things. And a lot like the Sultans of Swing thing, all of a sudden it just meant more moving forward from that. And then people have asked me how, because early on I hated harsh vocals, and now I'm doing a podcast centered around harsh vocals. And again, you grow as a listener, and what really got me over that was Opeth, Still Life. That, and of course Blackwater Park, both of those. But Still Life was the one that really got me over it, and mainly because on that album, Face of Melinda is all clean vocals. And it's a pretty fucking song. But I'd listen to Face of Melinda, and it's super easy to like. But then right after that is this song, Serenity Painted Death. And it has such a great groove to it that me being a thrash fan, that groove really felt good. And even just the way the super harsh Serenity Painted Death, just that whole vibe, it just felt right. And the more you listen to it, the more you listen to it, the more you like it, the more you like it. And then all of a sudden, harsh vocals don't become a thing. And hey, then you start going back to other stuff that you didn't like that had harsh vocals that maybe it's okay. And then you listen to it more, and it's like, son of a bitch, this is stupid good. And then, of course, I got all into In Flames and Dark Tranquility and all that stuff. And it just completely unlocked all of that. And, Melodeath for about 10 years became my thing. And then Immortal, At the Heart of Winter in 1999. That opened up black metal for me. Before then, I did not like black metal. But I go to listen to that, and I'd come past my aversion to harsh vocals at this point, and I had heard that album before, and I didn't like it. But then after some time, I go back to it, and it's like, fuck me, this album is phenomenal. This is a phenomenal fucking record. And then, of course, it just went forward from there with black metal, and then you go back and you hear some more stuff, and you just keep going back and forth. And this just keeps going and going, I think, as long as you are a fan. Back in the day, I would have told you up and down, I am not a fan of gore grind. Don't care for it. 27 songs and the album's 17 minutes long. Whatever. I don't care. But now there's been a couple of gore grind albums that I actually really like. And I think it's just a continuing progression. I don't think gore grind has gotten drastically better over the years.
Yeah.
I just think I've come to appreciate it more. And it's just, I would say, time. And well, you also have to be open to it. So like my wife is not open to wanting to hear harsh vocals. Like she does not like it at all. So that it will never become a thing. She's not going to try and push through. That's just not her thing. But everybody has their thing. I hate country music. And there's millions of people that love it. So what are you going to do? But yeah, I mean, how did this kind of affect you?
Well, my understanding was that we were going to talk about the albums that really kind of made us understand that we loved music more than the average listener kind of does. And so, like, growing up, you know, riding in the backseat of my parents' cars and stuff, I would listen to soft rock. That's what my parents liked. I would listen to, you know, probably the heaviest thing was like the Scorpions, but it was a lot of like just, you know, soft rock kind of stuff. My dad liked a little bit more of classic rock, and so I would hear that from time to time. But when I was like on my own in my room, I would listen to the tapes that basically my parents would provide me, which were a lot of Disney songs and a lot of like soundtracks and things like that. So nothing edgy at all. It was all just very plain melody kind of music. And I listened to that for years until I was about 9 or 10. And then I started listening to the radio. And at first I would listen to classic rock because that's what my dad listened to. And then I sort of expanded from that and went into listening to like an alternative rock station. And I would hear things like Blink-182, Green Day, Offspring, things like that. But I would just hear the hits, the stuff on the radio. And I remember when I was 11 years old and I was in middle school, I was talking to a bunch of different people about music. And I realized that there were people that actually knew a lot more about music than me, that actually sought it out and listened to it. And so I was like, okay, well, that's kind of cool. Maybe music is something I'd be interested in. So this guy who I know made me a couple of tapes, like basically recorded tapes from tapes that he had, cassettes he had. And the first two that I got were Green Day Dookie and Offspring Smash. And I liked Green Day. That album was easily their best album, but it didn't really hold up over time for me. But Offspring Smash in particular, that album changed my life.
Such a good record. Such a great record.
I like all the radio hit songs from that album, but Smash the Song was probably the most important song on the most important album of my childhood, because Smash like completely opened up my brain and I was like, wow, I really like this aggressive music. I need to hear more of this. I need to seek this out. And so I did. Burned through that tape until it couldn't be listened to anymore. And then I went out and bought it on tape on my own real copy at the record store, and I burned through that one. I probably owned like 10 copies of Offspring Smash through my entire life because I just kept wearing the tapes out from listening to it so much. And that album will always have like such an important place in my heart just because of what it did for me and how much it turned me on to music. Moving beyond that, when CDs became a thing, the very first CD I ever purchased was Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. And like before then, I was not even that big of a fan of Smashing Pumpkins. Again, I had heard radio hits and stuff, and I had listened to one or two of their albums on tapes that friends had burned me, but it wasn't one I went back to very frequently. But then I heard the song Zero on MTV, and then I heard the song Tonight Tonight, and I was like, wow, like this emotionally powerful music also coupled with this aggression, like this is the next step. And so for me, and for a lot of people, Melancholy, the Infinite Sadness was a hugely important album in my adolescence as well, because I learned to appreciate not only the melody and the emotion, but also the aggression. And while it wasn't as aggressive as thrash metal or black metal or anything I listen to now, for a kid who Offspring Smash was the most aggressive thing I had ever heard, a song like Zero, where he's talking against God and like saying all these things that I agreed with, because I was also like sort of abandoning my religion in this phase. Like it really just resonated with me in a lot of different ways. And so that was a super important album for me. Moving on, I discovered Nine Inch Nails, and that was life-changing for me. My depression I was really horribly bullied pretty much all through my elementary and middle school years. It didn't really get a lot better until I was in high school. But in my middle school years, I was just looking for some kind of outlet for my depression. I was constantly getting in fights, constantly having to defend myself. And I was miserable. I was suicidal at 13 years old, which no 13-year-old kid should be. But back then, there was no protection for kids that were being bullied. The schools would just say, well, kids will be
Suck
kids.
it up.
Suck it up. But I mean, the length of stuff I went through was horrific by any standards. And Nine Inch Nails really like saved my life, to be honest. I know that's kind of an overused trope, but without the Downward Spiral and having a place to like pour my depression into, I'm not sure I would have come out of that as like well-rounded of a person as I did. And I mean, I've talked about it a lot where I lean into the depression with my music. You say you're depressed and you want to hear something happy, so you put on Halo Effect
Some
or
power
something.
metal,
And
yeah.
I say I'm depressed and I put on something that's like 10 times sadder than what I actually feel. And that's cathartic and therapeutic for me. So, you know, Downward Spiral is like full of suicidal ideologies and like just the shit of humanity. It's also a masterpiece of an album. And it not only helped me deal with everything I was going through, but it also led me to want to hear harder and better music. So, and really, I can't give the credit just to that album alone. It was really everything Nine Inch Nails did from, you know, the beginning until The Fragile, which is another kind of topic that I'll talk about in just a minute. But moving on from that, I wasn't always just like dark and angry and depressed. I also liked fun music. And I happened to grow up in an era where MTV was still music television and aired a lot of like music and music videos. And I would spend a lot of time watching music videos and watching Beavis and Butthead make fun of music videos. And, you know, Stone Temple Pilots actually was like my fun band that I always went to. And, so, I mean, I had mood albums even then, but like Core was such an important, like fun album for me. When I first saw Scott Weiland dancing his weird fucking dance in a music video, I was like, what is this? But I loved the music and it resonated with me right away. And I learned that I could use music for fun as well as dealing with things.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it kind of served that purpose for me. So that was an album that was super important that I listened to all the time. And then finally, when I made that jump seeking out more aggressive music, it was Master of Puppets, Metallica's Master of Puppets, which is arguably the best thrash metal album ever made. I couldn't get enough of everything Metallica did, you know, from the beginning up until Black Album. I kind of went through a phase with them, and it's still, Master of Puppets is still an album I return to pretty often. So is Kill 'Em All. I don't really listen to a whole lot of other ones. Maybe Injustice for All. Sometimes I'm in the mood for it, but like, I was never the biggest fan of Black Album or Load or Reload or any of the stuff that came after, but all that early stuff, Ride the Lightning, Kill 'Em All.
Yeah, good.
Just so good. And I think that those were the 5 most important albums in my discovery of how much I loved music and what it meant to me and the formation of it being such an important part of my life throughout my life. Kind of circling back to what I was talking about, though, like I've gone through phases, notable phases in my life where there have been bands that I've listened to pretty much nonstop for years at a time. And Nine Inch Nails was the first one. When I discovered Nine Inch Nails, it was life-changing, and pretty much all the way from like 8th grade until I was probably like 19 for like a good 6-year stretch. Like anytime I was listening to music, you could ask me what it was, and 9 times out of 10, I would say Nine Inch Nails. Like, I mean, I had my Walkman with me or my Discman with me, and I was always listening to it. And I would just circle through the albums, or else I'd put one that I really liked on repeat and just listen to it over and over again. And then after Nine Inch Nails, In Flames was probably the band that I spent the most time with. Everything in their discography up until Reroute to Remain, super important for me. And really developed my love of harsh vocals. Without them, I don't think I would be doing this podcast or have the love for death metal or black metal that I have. I mean, they were my gateway band. And then even beyond them, Amorphous, there was a good 4 or 5 year stretch where I listened to every Amorphous album nonstop. Same thing with Immortal. And now it's Harakiri. I talk about them all the time. Those 5 bands have been like my go-to bands at different periods in my life where I've listened to them for like 5 or 6 years whenever I had a free moment to. Over the last like 4 or 5 years since I've been a Spotify user, it's kind of changed because I listen to all the new stuff that comes out. So I don't have as much time to live with an album or live with a band like I used to. It's very different. And I was really resistant to it at first, but now I've fully embraced it. And as much as I love having bands that are so important in my life, I also love discovering new music just as much. So finding all these new bands and discovering new things and creating new favorites as time goes by, it's more rewarding, I think. It's just a different kind of rewarding.
Yeah. I think it's super important. Honestly, I don't think I would be as varied a music fan as I am now without Spotify or music services in general or YouTube or stuff like that. Just, I guess, the internet in general. Because how did you find stuff, And this podcast is one of them. That's one of the reasons we do this.
Before Spotify, I'd probably listen to like 12 new albums a year, before Spotify. And it would either be word of mouth from other metalhead friends, or it would be stuff that I would find on forums or on like DC++ or something. Somebody would post up like, here's my favorite metal albums of this year. And I would download them and listen to them. And I would find like 1 or 2 I liked. But I mean, it was a crapshoot. Like before the Spotify era, before the streaming era, it was very hard to discover new music because it was all basically like luck of the draw. I mean, back in your day, you would go to a record store and the cover would kind of dictate whether you were going to check it out or not. I didn't really live with that. I mean, I lived with word of mouth more than that. And I had MTV, which you didn't have. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy how far it's come and how different it is now than it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah, it's just so much more and it's so much easier. But I say that with a caveat because it is easier to get to it, but it's, I think today, harder to find it if you don't know where to look.
Yeah.
If you don't have an avenue like this show or Black Metal Promotion does a fantastic job on YouTube, and they'll post a lot on a lot of the Facebook pages, metal pages and stuff. So like stuff like that, but word of mouth is not really a thing. Magazines aren't a thing anymore. Not really. I mean, there's a few that still exist, but
not really in the U.S. I mean, places where heavy metal is like still played on the radio, there are magazines because there's still enough demand for them. But over in the U.S., like, nope.
But even one of the biggest magazines that I remember in Germany was called Metal Hammer, and they only do four issues a year. It's every 3 months. So, and that used to be a monthly thing. And they used to do massive review sections. And that's how I found a lot of stuff on there. I still remember when I bought the latest issue of Metal Hammer, and it was 1986, and Rain and Blood had just come out. And they had a really weird way of doing this. They had like 15 or 20 people that would give every album a rating. And then it was total rating. And Rain and Blood got the lowest rating I'd ever seen in the magazine. Everybody just said it's complete garbage and like, this is horrific. I don't know why anybody would want to listen to this, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, fuck, I need to listen to that record. And I heard it and I was like, holy shit, this is badass. But so yeah, so even there, that may not be right either. And so like nowadays, you got to listen to shit. And that's one of the reasons that we play a track here. Because just because I say it's good doesn't mean you'll like it. Your musical taste is probably going to be different than mine.
And that's why we highlight bands that we don't necessarily love 100% too, because they're like, there may be people that like that portion of it that we don't. Like, there's a lot of people that have a way higher tolerance or appreciation for clean vocals than I do these days. Yeah. So if I like everything else but the cleans, I'll still highlight the band.
Yeah. But it's a growing process, I think, as you go along. And I don't know, but I think metalheads are a little bit more choosy when it comes to music. Like, there's not a whole lot of, like, people are going to jump on bandwagons for shit. That's really not something that happens, because I know plenty of people that don't like thrash as much as I do, and I don't like doom as much as others.
Metalheads are open to all types of metal music, I think, to an extent. But they also every single one of them that I know at least kind of formulates their own like personal bubble of everything that like they prefer. We have a lot of friends that love doom, death, anything with a lot of melody, and like they might fringe like some black metal stuff here and there, but they aren't really black metal fans, and they don't like old school death metal. They only like melodic death metal. We have other friends that are very into power metal and very into black metal, but they don't like any of the death metal stuff at all. I have friends that are only into like brutal technical stuff. Maybe some fringe black metal, but they don't like doom at all. They don't like power metal at all. My personal preference is very much like death, thrash, black metal, and even with the thrash, I'm like iffy on stuff. You like a little bit of everything, but you can't stand doom metal. And I mean, I don't think there's anybody that fully loves and embraces all of it. I mean, I'd be very shocked to find somebody who's like, I absolutely love doom metal, power metal, and nu metal, and that's my grid. Yeah. It's like they're so different from each other that most people pick kind of a section and stay in that own little area.
And I would definitely say metal as a whole is so varied versus any other type of musical genre. Mm-hmm. Like there's differences in, like, let's say blues. There's a difference between Delta blues and Texas blues. There is differences. There's a difference between that and Chicago blues. But as far as
287 subgenres.
Yeah. So yeah, is it drastically different? No, not really. It's still guitar driven mainly, but you will never have anybody listen to Blind Guardian and then listen to Archspire and think that's the same genre. That's just heavy metal, man. No, they sound completely different. Like you would be hard pressed to even, like, somebody that didn't know would just be like, all right, well, that's a completely different kind of music.
Yeah.
So, especially in metal, there really is something for everybody out there.
There is.
All right, so expand your horizons.
Yeah, I think that was a good topic. I kind of liked reminiscing about the past and thinking about what it was like when I first got into music. I've come a long way, obviously. Like,
it's a long journey. It is. When I think back, holy fuck.
I remember the first time I heard Immortal, and I did not like them. I was like, oh, that sounds terrible. The first time I heard Dark Throne, I was like, Jesus, this is awful. First time I heard Cradle of Filth, I was like, who is this for? Like, why would you listen to this? Like, Danny Filth's voice is atrocious. But then a short 3 or 4 years later, and I was like, man, these bands are great. So it takes time.
And it's crazy how it happens too, because if you would have asked me, even after I got past the harsh vocal thing, the album that Yatheria had in 2021 that became my album of the year that year, I would have told you up and down 10 years ago that I hate that album. I hate that guy's vocals. There's nothing redeeming about it. But now, album of the year. So
yeah,
you would have asked me 15 years ago, I would have never even said it's even listenable. So
yeah, it's just it's a progression, and you have to be open to it, and you have to be willing to explore it.
And I think for the most part, metalheads are more open to, like what you're saying, to at least try something. Like, I don't like doom for the most part. There's some that I like, but it's very few and far between. But if somebody tells me, one of our friends, like, hey, this is phenomenal, even you may like this, I will definitely give it a listen.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
And I'm always open to expanding my horizons. I don't think that I'll ever truly love power metal just because of the cleans, but if somebody tells me that there's a power metal band that I might like, I'll certainly check it out. Same thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for our topic. Let's move into our pickups. Have you picked up anything cool recently, Christian?
I have. This last weekend, I saw Sidon both Saturday and Sunday, because I'm insane. But I drove to Iowa City on Saturday, hung out with my daughters. My oldest daughter went to the Sidon and Traw show with me.
Oh, nice. You got her, too.
Yeah, she went. And, she had a good time. She liked it. But at that show and the very next show, I picked up the Velvet Cross album, the Traw album on vinyl, both of those on vinyl. I picked up Sodom's The Arsonist. I pre-ordered that, so that arrived. But while I was in Iowa City, shockingly enough, I found Ed Guy's album, Mandrake. at a record store there, used copy, original pressing. Not that that really matters to me, but this also hasn't been reissued as far as I know, or I've never been able to get one. But original pressing, $24. And I looked it
Nice.
up, and I even asked the guy, it's like, is this right? And he was like, yeah, that's what he's got it listed as. And it's like, okay. Because I looked it up on Discogs, and the cheapest I could find a copy of this album was like $320. So
Wow.
I don't know if
a great
that's
deal.
right or what, but yeah, $24. Fuck yeah, I'm in. Also, locally, I was able to pick up Shamash Triangle. I know you're a big Shamash fan. I also picked up Aranzi Pasuzu. I'm going to butcher this. Muntautua.
I can never pronounce their titles.
Yeah, I don't know. And of course, the Inhuman Condition album, Mind Trap. I got that on vinyl. And yeah, I think I've ordered a couple, but none of those are here, so I'll talk about that next time.
Nice.
But that's it for me.
Well, I haven't picked up that much. I did get the Cryptopsy album, like I mentioned. I picked up the Helheim album, the Coffin Feeder album from earlier this year, Pandemia. Those both arrived. I did pre-order the Imperial Crystalline Entombment Abominable Astral Summoning album that's supposed to come out next week. I don't know if you...
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, they're the only good ice. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but I really like Ice. I don't know if you heard the singles from that album, but I'm very excited for it. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, yeah, I pre-ordered In Flames Horacle since it's supposed to release August 1st. I'm pretty excited for that on vinyl.
I am low-key. I said this in our chat earlier. I'm low-key thinking about ordering it from someplace else as well, because I'm worried that it's going to be like, oh, well, we got some, but they're gone or whatever. It's on back order. I'm so worried about this because I've been waiting for a reissue for Horacle for, since I got back into collecting vinyl. So,
right. Same here.
Yeah. So excited.
Hopefully it works out and we both get our copies. If you end up getting 2, I guess we could always do another giveaway.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, I haven't picked up a ton, and I don't really have a lot of concerts coming up. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Well, moving on to our extreme submission. This one is actually a band that Christian's bringing because he saw them live during one of the shows from this past weekend. But I was already familiar with them, and I enjoy their music, so I'm happy to give them a shout out. So why don't you tell everybody about them, Christian?
How about you tell everybody about them, because I don't want to butcher this name.
Well, I'll say the name. How about that? Mycorrhizae, The Great Filtration is the name of their latest album. They're black metal from Minnesota. They have one album out. They've been together since 2021. It's a 2-man project. One guy's the vocalist. The other guy does everything else. And they're great. They're kind of a raw melodic black metal with some rock and roll elements sort of built into it. But they're definitely not super well produced or anything. But I like this album a lot. You actually got to meet him and talk to him, so why don't you...
Yeah, is one of them... You said it's a 2-man project. I mean, obviously they were playing live, so they had a live band. There's 5 people there. Was the drummer one of the main guys?
Yeah, I believe the drummer is the multi-instrumentalist, yeah.
All right, because the vocalist was a female when I saw him.
That might be right. It's a 2-person project. I don't know for sure if it's a man and a woman. They go by Forager and Collector, so I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I don't have real names on here.
But anyway, I was super impressed. At first, it sounded like a wall of noise hitting you, right? But more and more, they have these moments of, like, there's some punk rhythms in there, kind of like what Sidon do with the punk rhythm that they add in. And they had variations in the riffing, and yeah, it just worked really well. They made me a believer in a live setting. And, I talked to the drummer, and I asked him if he minded if we played a song on the show. He said, sure. He tried to give me the CD that they had available, and I was like, that's cool, man. I'll buy it. Not a problem. He's like, no, don't worry about it, man. Here, just take it for free. And I was like, you got to support what you love, man. I'm going to give you some money for it. And he's like, all right. So, just really nice guy. Just 100% wanting to be on the show. That's cool. Like, trying to give shit away for free. So,
nice.
Hey, more power to you, man, but sell that stuff. But yeah, live, they certainly made me into a believer.
Nice.
Here they are. Yeah.
Like I said, I became aware of them about a year ago. One of our writers, Moldy, was a huge fan and was talking him up a whole bunch, and I checked out on his recommendation, and I love it. So I'm more than happy to play this. Hopefully you guys like it too, and then you'll check out the full album and support them. I'll make sure to post their Bandcamp when I put the episode up. Again, this is the band Mycorrhizae off of their album The Great Filtration, and the track that Christian picked to play is called Strength in Space. I hope you guys enjoy it. And also, this is something we always forget to do for every episode. Yep. Please follow us on our social media. We're at Harsh Vocal Site everywhere. You can also join our Discord. It's growing a little bit every week. We have a lot of people in there having great conversations about music. We also give early sneak peeks into our reviews and talk about albums and stuff. So if you'd like to join, the link's available on all of our social media and also on the website, harshvocals.com, where we also do reviews. So if you've never visited harshvocals.com, check that out too. There's a lot of great content there to read. So that's pretty much all I got. You have anything else, Christian?
Nope, I think that'll cover it.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Enjoy.
All right. See y'all.